Welcome back to Old Charles, your home for coin history, values, and hidden treasures from around the world. Today, we're diving into the fascinating story and value of the Australian 50-cent coin from 1981. If you own one of these coins or are just curious about its background, stay tuned until the end, because you might be surprised at what it's worth. Let's start with the history. The Australian 50-cent coin is one of the most iconic pieces in modern Australian currency. It was first introduced in 1966 as a round coin made of 80% silver, but because the silver content was more valuable than the face value, it was quickly withdrawn from circulation. In 1969, Australia reintroduced the 50-cent coin, but this time in a distinctive dodecagonal shape. That's a 12-sided coin, which makes it easy to recognize even by touch. The 1981 edition of the 50-cent coin was minted during a period of high demand for coinage in Australia. Interestingly, because of this demand, the Royal Australian Mint outsourced production to the Royal Mint in London, as well as the Royal Canadian Mint, alongside coins struck in Canberra. This makes the 1981 50-cent coin special. It exists in different varieties depending on where it was minted. On the obverse, or the front side of the coin, you'll find the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This design was used from 1966 until 1984, making it historically significant for collectors. On the reverse, you'll see the Australian coat of arms, which features a kangaroo and an emu standing proudly beside the shield, a symbol of unity for Australia. The coin is made from copper and nickel alloy, weighs about 15.55 grams, and has a diameter of 31.5 millimeters. Its unique 12-sided shape makes it one of the largest and most recognizable coins in circulation. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The 1981 Australian 50-cent coin was minted in very large numbers, with over 20 million pieces struck. But because production was spread across 3 different mints, in Australia, London, and Canada, subtle differences exist in the coins. Collectors often look for these mint varieties, and some are more desirable than others. For example, coins struck at the Royal Mint in London may have slight differences in strike quality. Canadian mint issues can sometimes be identified by minor details on the Queen's portrait. While they were all meant for circulation, the origin of minting adds an extra layer of collectability. Because the 1981 50-cent coin was minted in such high numbers, most examples you'll find in circulation today are only worth their face value of 50 cents. However, collectors value coins based on condition, rarity of variety, and historical significance. These are the coins you might still find in your change. In worn condition, they're typically worth around 50 cents to $1 AUD. If the coin has never been used and still has its original mint luster, it can fetch $2 to $5 AUD, sometimes more if it's in pristine mint state. Coins struck specially for collectors in 1981 can be worth significantly more, usually around $10 to $20 AUD, depending on condition. That if you can identify whether your coin was minted in Canada or London, some collectors may pay a small premium, usually $3 to $8 AUD. 4 well-preserved examples. So, while the 1981 50-cent coin isn't considered extremely rare, it still holds value for those who love collecting Australian coins. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. Collectors often grade coins using terms like noticeable wear, but design still visible. Some light wear, but still sharp detail. Not only minor wear on high points. No wear at all. Looks like it just came from the mint. Specially struck coins with a mirror-like finish, made for collectors. If you have a 1981 Australian 50-cent coin in UNC or proof condition, it's always worth holding onto, because pristine coins are becoming harder to find over time. ***. So, will the 1981 Australian 50-cent coin go up in value in the future? Well, since it was minted in large numbers, it's unlikely to become extremely rare. However, coins in perfect condition, and those from special mint origins, may see a steady increase in value as more collectors look to complete their sets. To understand the history of the 1981 Australian 50-cent coin, we have to go back to the beginning of decimal currency in Australia. Before 1966, Australia used the pound, shilling, and pence system, which had been inherited from Britain. But this system was considered complicated and outdated. So, on 14 February 1966, Australia officially switched to the decimal system. That's when the first Australian 50-cent coin was introduced. Interestingly, the very first 50-cent coins in 1966 were round and made from 80% silver. At the time, silver prices were lower, so it made sense. However, within just a year, the value of silver rose so much that the silver content of each coin was actually worth more than 50 cents. This caused people to hoard the coins, melt them down, or sell them for profit. Because of this, the government had no choice but to withdraw the silver round 50-cent coin after only 1 year. Today, those 1966 round silver coins are highly collectible. After this, the Australian government needed a new design that would not only replace the withdrawn silver coin, but also be distinctive enough so people wouldn't confuse it with a 20-cent coin, which was also large and round. That's why in 1969, the 50-cent coin was reintroduced in a new 12-sided dodecagonal shape. This shape was unique at the time and ensured that the coin could be recognized instantly, both visually and by touch. The new 50-cent coin was struck in copper-nickel alloy, meaning it had no precious metal content. This kept costs under control and allowed the coin to circulate widely without the risk of being melted for its metal value. Throughout the 1970s, the Australian 50-cent coin became one of the most common and recognizable coins in circulation. By the time we reached 1981, the coin had already gained a solid place in the Australian economy. But 1981 was special. That year, Australia faced a particularly high demand for coins due to economic activity and population growth. The Royal Australian Mint in Canberra couldn't keep up with demand on its own. So, for one of the rare times in Australian coinage history, production was outsourced overseas. Both the Royal Mint in London, England, and the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa, Canada, were contracted to produce additional 50-cent coins to meet the demand. This means the 1981 50-cent coin is unique in Australian numismatic history because it exists in different mint varieties: coins struck in Australia, Canberra, coins struck in London, and coins struck in Canada, while the design remained the same, featuring Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse and the Australian coat of arms. On the reverse, there were often subtle differences in how the coins looked, such as small details in the Queen's portrait, strike quality, or rim shape. These differences are what collectors hunt for today. So, when we talk about the history of the 1981 50-cent coin, we're really talking about a coin that represents Australia's coinage independence, the transition from silver to base metal, and a rare moment when 3 different mints across the world work together to produce coins for Australia's circulation. That IT tells the story of how a single denomination adapted to economic changes, international minting cooperation, and the evolution of modern Australian coinage. Even though the coin is common, its history is anything but ordinary. When it comes to coins, condition isn't just about whether it looks shiny or not. Condition, often referred to as grade, is the single biggest factor that determines a coin's value. 2 coins from 1981 with the same design and mintage can have totally different prices depending on their preservation. Let's break this down step by step first. Coins are usually divided into 2 broad categories. These are coins that have been used in everyday transactions, passed through people's hands, pockets, wallets, and coin jars. They will usually show signs of wear, scratches, and loss of original luster. These are coins that were never used in commerce. They may have been stored in rolls, mint sets, or collections since the day they were struck. They retain their original shine, sharp details, and mint luster. Most 1981 Australian 50-cent coins you'll encounter today are circulated because they were produced in such large numbers for general use. But finding an uncirculated piece, especially one in near-perfect condition, is much rarer and far more valuable. / collectors and numismatists use a detailed grading scale to describe coin condition. Here's how the 1981 50-cent coin might be graded. These coins are heavily worn. The Queen's portrait on the obverse may be almost flat, and the fine details of the kangaroo and emu on the reverse may be hard to see. Value is basically just face value, 50 cents. The design is still identifiable, but major details are worn down. For example, the crown on Queen Elizabeth may be faint, and the coat of arms may lack detail. These are worth around face value only. Coins in this range show moderate wear, but key design features are still visible. You'll see some flattening on the queen's hair and the animals on the reverse, but the coin still looks decent. Value, maybe $1 AUD, minimal wear, with most details sharp. Only the highest points of the coin show light wear. These coins are much harder to find in circulation today and may be valued at $2, $3 AUD. Just a trace of wear on the highest points, but otherwise the coin looks nearly new. The luster is mostly intact. A 1981 coin in this condition could fetch $3, $5 no wear at all. Looks as though it just left the mint. Surfaces may have bag marks or tiny scratches from mint handling, but there's no circulation wear. These can sell for $5, $10 AUD, depending on demand. This is the highest level of uncirculated grading, broken into a 70-point system from MS 60 to MS 70. An MS 65 coin has brilliant luster and only minor flaws. MS 70 is a perfect coin, with no marks under magnification, extremely rare for circulation issues. High-grade examples of the 1981 coin may bring $10, $20 AUD, specially struck for collectors with mirror-like fields and frosted designs. Proof versions of the 1981 coin sold in collector sets are generally valued between $15, $25 AUD today, depending on condition. * chips, dents, or heavy scratches lower the grade. A perfect rim adds value. These small details make a big difference in price. A worn coin might only be worth face value, but the same coin in pristine uncirculated condition could be worth 10 to 20 times as much. Condition isn't just about how the coin was minted, it's also about how it was stored. If you have a 1981 50-cent coin you want to protect, here are some tips. Store coins in coin flips, 2x2 holders, or capsules to prevent scratches. Keep them in a cool, dry place to avoid tarnishing and corrosion. Never clean coins with chemicals or abrasive materials. Cleaning can actually destroy their collectible value. Handle coins by the edges, not the faces, to preserve the surface. Coins kept in protective storage since 1981 will naturally be worth much more than coins that rattled around in circulation for decades. Collectors are always chasing the best condition coins they can find. Even though millions of 1981 50-cent coins were minted, the number of coins surviving in uncirculated or mint condition is far smaller, because most went straight into circulation. Over time, as more coins get worn out or lost, the percentage of high-grade survivors shrinks. That's why condition matters so much. It's not just about how the coin looks today, but how many pristine examples are left for collectors tomorrow to sow. While a circulated 1981 coin may always stay close to face value, uncirculated or proof coins have the potential to grow in value as they become scarcer in top condition. * In short, the condition of your 1981 Australian 50-cent coin is the key to unlocking its true value. A well-worn coin is a common piece of pocket change, but a flawless proof or mint-state example can be a prized collectible.